Hey guys, today we are discussing a hot topic, what's happening in the real estate market, both nationally and locally.
The data of May is important, but now it has been reduced to a history lesson. However, we will also be discussing how the recent rise in interest rates has affected our local markets.
It's going to be a bumpy ride, but stay tuned. Hi everyone, I'm Claire McCown.
And I'm Gail McCown.
We are a mother-daughter real estate team helping home buyers and sellers all over the North Atlanta suburbs. We also run a local lifestyle brand called The Best of North Atlanta with the McCown Group that keeps everyone informed about all the best restaurants, shopping, and fun events around North Atlanta.
Today we will answer the question, how's the market?
Well, which market? Every month, Gail and I bring you the most up-to-date real estate statistics in the top 7 North Atlanta suburbs. Those top 7 suburbs are Milton, Lake Lanier, Roswell, Suwanee, Johns Creek, Alpharetta, and Cumming.
As we record this video in June, we are nearing the end of the historic seller's market, which felt like it was going to last forever. Do you remember Abraham Lincoln's favorite saying, "This too shall pass"? Well, it has.
The insane market of the last 2 years of the pandemic is passing away and showing signs of normalizing. Can we get an amen?
Jamie Hale, in his article entitled Patterns, The Need for Order, stated, quote, "Humans have a tendency to see patterns everywhere. That's important when making decisions, judgments, and acquiring knowledge. We tend to be uneasy with chaos and chance. Unfortunately, that same tendency to see patterns in everything can lead to seeing things that don't exist," unquote.
This built-in uneasiness we have in the middle of a lack of patterns, that is, chaos, affects experts too. Perhaps that is why so many experts' predictions were wrong regarding interest rates in 2022.
No one saw the patterns that mattered. This is why it is so important to listen to the reasoning of the experts, not just their conclusions, to see if you think a particular expert is taking all the important facts into consideration. If I hear experts comment on the reason for rising inflation, but they fail to mention the $6 trillion the government flooded into the economy for pandemic relief, I know they are not seeing important patterns.
But when it costs $70 to fill up your gas tank when it used to be $40, the reasons are not as important. When housing prices are rising 20% a year so that people can no longer afford to buy a home, something has to be done.
With a runaway housing boom and increasing inflation, the Fed came up with a plan that Lance Lambert called out in his article in Fortune.com, in which he quotes Mark Zandi, quote, "This is all by design. The Federal Reserve has a dual mandate from Congress, keep both unemployment and inflation low. Of course, with the jobless rate at 3.6% and the latest consumer price index reading over 8.3%, it is obvious which mandate the Fed has shifted its attention to: inflation. In the Fed's mind, if it can end the housing boom, it can slow down overall price growth. That's why the Fed hit the housing market with an economic shock of higher mortgage rates," unquote.
Lambert goes on to explain that the Fed needed to do whatever it took, quote, "to slow the unsustainable levels of growth in the housing market," unquote. If the housing market continued to grow at 20% per year, we were headed for a housing crisis.
Unfortunately, interest rates forced the lower price range buyers in particular into an affordability pinch. This effectively removed millions of buyers from the market. Demand decreased, but not at all price points.
We saw this affordability dichotomy in our own business. Clients who were buying above $700,000 were still in multiple offer scenarios. Clients in the $400 to $500 range were not as often. Of course, this is anecdotal, but we felt the market start to shift back to normal.
What is normal? Normal is what the market was pre-pandemic, 2019-ish. It was the housing market before the meaning of home changed, before home was work, before home was school, before home was 24/7 play.
Back then, a house would go onto the market and a respectable number of potential buyer's agents would make orderly appointments, and then a reasonable number of offers would be submitted. Check out this chart showing the number of showings per month in the good old days on a national level.
This chart is the last 3 years of showings in Atlanta. As you can see, 2022 reveals we are heading back to normal. It is important to note that returning to normal does not equate to a crash.
Realtor.com declared, quote, "Experts don't believe the market is in a bubble or a crash is in the cards, like during the Great Recession. The nation is still suffering from a housing shortage that has reached crisis proportions at a time when many millennials are reaching the age when they start to consider homeownership. That's likely to keep prices high," unquote.
And that is mostly what we have seen in Atlanta. We keep record of the daily Atlanta stats on FMLS. As you can see, there had been 2 days in June where more homes have come onto the market than have left.
We have been running at a constant deficit for 2 years, but this is Atlanta returning to normal. But now it's time for a history lesson, meaning it's time to discuss what happened way back in May, starting with Milton.
The average price in Milton fell 11% from $1.4 million in April to $1.2 million in May. And the price of the 32 homes that were sold were on average 107% of list price, compared with 103% in April. The month of June began with 80 listings. At this price point, Milton is not as affected by rising interest rates, so it will continue to be a competitive market.
The average price in the Lake Lanier housing market rose a substantial 23% in May, shooting up from $959,000 in April to $1.175 million in May. Still, the sales price to list price ratio was 98%, and days on market went down from 43 to 27. If you bought a house on Lake Lanier in May, I'm sure you felt the crunch.
For the 108 houses that sold in Roswell in May, prices rose 9% from $659,000 to $716,000. Buyers paid an average of 106% of list price. Days on market shrank from 16 to 10. With 101 active listings at the beginning of June, Roswell will likely continue its upward trend.
Suwanee's prices were down 4% in May, from $759,000 in April to $732,000 in May. But average days on market were only 8. That's not very long, and that may explain why houses sold for 108% of list price.
Similar to Suwanee, the average price in Johns Creek also fell 4% and maintained a sold price to list price ratio of 108% with a mere 9 days on the market.
The Alpharetta real estate market remained about the same, with an average price of $788,000, up slightly from May's $774,000. Days on market were still tight at 11. Buyers continued to pay about 107% of list price for the third month in a row for the 175 homes that were sold.
Finally, the market in Cumming got very competitive in May. Average days on market dropped to 10. With buyers paying 112% of list price. The average price rose 6% from $613,000 to $647,000.
Even with interest rates rising and showing slowing, May 2022 continued to be a strong month in all of the top 7 North Atlanta suburbs. However, most experts agree that June's numbers will reflect a return to a more normal market. It's still a great time to sell though. If you are considering selling, it is imperative that you have a representative in this market who sees the patterns and can navigate you through the chaos, advise you on staging, marketing, timing, and so much more.
If you are ready to buy, be sure you have an advocate who is in touch with the changing market and can save you time, money, and headaches.
If you found this information helpful, please like and subscribe and share with a friend. If you have a different take on the market or would like to see other communities highlighted, comment below. If you would like to connect, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at The Best of North Atlanta or visit our website at McCowngroup.com. Of course, you can go old school and give us a call at 678-807-9566. Talk to you soon and see you next time.